So, art supplies. Love them, hate them. Every artist needs them, and we are constantly on a search for what is going to work best for us, what is our favorite, what is that new thing that we need to try that is going to make our artwork absolutely perfect. And while as much as I want to say it has nothing to do with the art supply and everything about how you use it, that is hypocritical. I am amongst all of you. I am constantly searching for the new Procreate brush that's going to make my art magical, the new paint that's going to make me suddenly like acrylics, the new paper that's going to make my markers work the way that I want them to, and all of the other videos of other artists that I see using markers. So, you guys like my art, that's why you're here, right? I'm going to tell you the things that I use to make that art, so stick around while I tell you all of my favorite art supplies that I use as a multimedia artist. And yes, I am saying multimedia and not mixed media, because I use a lot of different mediums. So I've broken up my category so that you guys can jump around all of these chapters and find what art supplies are relevant to you. So let's get into our first category. So our first category we are starting off with is digital, because as much as I am trying to break back into doing traditional art again, I'm still a primarily digital artist. It is one of the easiest things for me to film when I need to get a video out quickly, so that is a lot of what you guys see from me, and I am sure what a lot of you guys are here watching this video for. So I'm just going to get straight into it. I'm going to talk about the program that I use, the device that I use, and then some accessories that I use along with that stuff to make it more streamlined for me personally. So I use an iPad Pro. You can use pretty much any version of an iPad, as long as it's got a screen. I have a 12.5 inch just because I have wrist issues, so having a larger screen and therefore a larger drawing area is beneficial to me. But if you're somebody who does not have that sort of problem, literally don't care what size screen you're working on, literally any kind of iPad will work for you. Honestly, you don't even need an iPad Pro. Like, you could literally use an Air or like anything that will let you download Procreate, which is the app that I use. I've tried a number of different apps on my channel if you guys want to see different programs that, you know, might be more streamlined for you personally. I've done a lot of different reviews, even some where I've gone back to said program and tried it again as like a more experienced artist, because a lot of them I was still very new to my iPad when I first made it. So I've done a couple of videos like that on the channel if you guys want to see other programs that might work for you, but I primarily these days use Procreate. I also did a video, I think, talking about how I didn't like Procreate. We'll come back to that. I have a video planned for the future about my new feelings as far as Procreate goes, for sure. And then as far as my accessories that I use along with those, I use an Apple Pencil, obviously. I have a grip that I like to put on my Apple Pencil, and I've recently, the last week, been combining that alongside some grip tape, you know, like you see on like tattoo machines and stuff like that. It's just a tape that you wrap around to make it easier to hold, but also you can kind of like make it a little bit thicker, because just the Apple Pencil itself has begun to be kind of a difficult thing for me to grasp, again, because of my wrist problems. So if you're somebody that has chronic, like I keep wanting to say arthritis, but that's not, carpal tunnel is the word that I'm looking for. If you're somebody with chronic carpal tunnel like myself, and like a lot of other people in our generation, having some kind of grip tape in order to, again, adjust your grip, whether that's less or more. Right now I have a lot of it on there, but you know, anything that makes your wrist last longer, especially in this profession, is amazing. I also sometimes like to use these rear fine tip nibs. I don't really use them as much now, because I've noticed I tend to use a lot more pressure when I'm using these nibs. Not like because I have to, but just as like a subconscious thing. I'll put more pressure down, and then how many times I'm going to talk about my wrist issues in this video? I be hurting. It's painful. Not because of the nibs themselves, like if you go back, I have some videos where I talk about using these. I think I have like one or two. I really preferred them at the time. I was doing very delicate line work and stuff like that, and I was really enjoying it. But now that my style's kind of fattened up, so to speak, I'm using a lot thicker lines and stuff like that. Putting pressure down with these nibs is just not ideal. So right now I am currently using the regular ones, but every once in a while I will kind of like switch it out if I'm feeling like bored and I want to switch to a finer nib to see if that will again magically make my art better. Maybe I'm having a bad art day, I switch a nib out and suddenly it's great. Sometimes that happens. The very last thing that I use accessory wise for my iPad is I have an adjustable stand, and that's not really due to like my wrist issues or anything. It just like depends on how I'm feeling. I don't really like to draw flat. I am very used to drawing like straight up if I'm on a screen. If I'm drawing flat, like with a flat tablet, which I haven't done in several years, it's fine. I don't need a stand for that. But if I'm drawing on a screen for some reason, I like to be at an angle. It's adjustable too, so I can put it at like a really short angle, which is what I primarily do these days, or every once in a while, like if I'm live streaming or something, I can do kind of a bigger angle, if that makes sense. Like I'll angle it up higher, but that is very uncommon, not usually how I use it, but every once in a while I'll switch it up. And the last thing that I am going to include in this category is something that I've been getting a lot, and I mean a lot, of comments on, particularly when I do my TikTok live streams on Wednesday, is the brush that I'm using. So this one that I use for my practically everything is called Sketch Pencil. It's from Jinx Sketch on Gumroad from the Procreate Complete Collection. I think it's on like version 2.2 right now. This brush pack is paid, unfortunately. It's $14.99 though, and they constantly go back and add more brushes to this pack, I think, because I'm pretty sure when I first bought this several years ago, this brush was not included, but now it is here and now I'm obsessed with it. It is very similar to the brush that I still use on my smudge tool, which I think I will be showing you guys a demo of. And that is the quintessential thick pencil brush from Fossil Forger on Gumroad. That one is free. I do still use this. Again, I use this on my smudge brush. But the reason that I have started preferring this Jinx Sketch brush over the Fossil Forger one is very minute detail. The stabilization is a little bit smoother, it's just a little bit different. And then the opacity and the taper on the end of this brush is so gummy. It is so good. I'm obsessed. It is such a slight detail you would hardly ever notice, but I notice it because I'm the one that's using it. So maybe you guys can't notice it visually, but I'm noticing it texturally, I guess, how I feel when I'm using this brush. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up our digital category. Actually, I lied to y'all. There is one more digital art supply that I like to use to make my process super smooth and very streamlined, and that is a matte screen protector. If you are one of those artists that loves the feel of pencil on paper and you're not really sold on like the glass of like your standard iPad or screen tablet, you really want that like scratchy sound, matte screen protectors are everything. There are a million on the market. I've tried several on this channel, but my favorite of all is this one that I just got from the TikTok shop. It's a NanoGuard magnetic screen protector. Magnetic, you say? What does that mean? How? What? It literally, you just slap it on there. I don't know what that noise that I just made was, but you just stick it on there. No bubbles, no nothing, no sticky, no alcohol that you have to clean up, no like 1 million packets of like crap to pick up dust and all that. You just swipe it right on there, and oh, what's that? Something like a crumb gets under your screen. Peel it off, wipe it off, put it back on. It's reusable. It's amazing. And the one that I got, I think it's like $20 for a 2-pack, which is like half the price of a Paperlike screen protector and 0% of the hassle. So I highly recommend those. The next category, wow, what? Category that we have is traditional, and I'm going to breaking this I am going to be breaking this category up by medium. What just happened to me? I'm going to be breaking this up by medium, mainly markers, both alcohol and paint, and then actual paint, aka gouache, and then lastly what paper / canvases that I use. Our first category, again, is markers. So, alcohol markers, I used to primarily use Copic markers. They were my favorite, they were the be all end all. I grew up in like 2011 watching Copic speed paints and being obsessed with them. They were my first ever, like, really professional art supply that I had. And I still use a lot of them. Anytime I do like marker work, I will be mixing them among some of the other markers that I have in my collection now. They're still something that I reach for, they're still something that I very much enjoy. I have, however, noticed, and this is so weird because, again, some of my markers are old. Some of my markers are literally the same markers that I got back in 2011. They're still from that same set, and they still work great. But some of them have recently taken to exploding. Now, what do I mean by that? I don't know. I don't know what happened to these markers. Some of them are new. Like, that's why I'm so confused, because, like, if it was the old markers that are literally almost old enough to be no, some of them are old enough to be high school students. Okay, they're old markers, some of them, which, oh, I have aged myself. Anyways, if it was the older markers, that would totally make sense. But some of these markers were markers that I bought within the last 5-6 years, which is still a long time. But again, considering some of them are literally like 15 years old and are still working fine, the fact that some of the newer ones are like, I just suddenly opened them one day and they were hard as a rock with like frayed edges and like the ink pooled in all these weird spots. I don't know what happened to them. I've been storing them the same my whole life. They are stored horizontally, like you're supposed to with alcohol markers, and they have just kind of blowed up. I don't know. I have no idea what has happened to these markers. However, that is not the reason that they have been dethroned as my favorite alcohol marker. The reason they are dethroned is because Ohuhu is now king. Okay? Ohuhu markers are amazing. I talked trash a very long time ago. The first time I ever tried them was because I tried a skin tone set, and I had some stuff to say about those markers because their initial skin tone set I thought was very weird. It had like no mid-tones, everything was very orange, blah blah blah. Suffice to say, their range has expanded significantly, and their markers are good. I didn't think they were bad quality at all. I thought the blending and everything was gorgeous. It was just the colors they put together in that skin tone set were really confusing, and I didn't understand them. But now that they have such a broader range of colors, along with how affordable these markers are. I mean, I think they literally have more colors available than Copic does right now. I think Copic has like 340 something, and I'm pretty sure Ohuhu is a little bit above that by now. Their range is incredible. And again, the affordability of these markers, the fact that you are able to get like a 36 pack for, I mean, a Copic 36 pack would cost you much, okay? It would cost you money. They're $7 a marker for Copic sketch here in my area. So sketch markers are expensive. Copic markers are expensive. Ohuhu markers significantly cheaper. I do not have the prices directly in front of me, so I'm going to, hopefully, editing Eddie, please remember to put them on screen. The price difference alone is enough for me to consider Ohuhu to be the best alcohol marker on the market at current. But I do still love Copic markers. Again, I do still reach for them, but when it comes to if I'm gonna recommend an alcohol marker brand to a person, it's gonna be Ohuhu. It's gotta be Ohuhu. And next in the marker category, we have paint markers. So I actually have two favorite art supplies in this particular category, and that is the Shuttle Art paint markers for their opacity and the Art Echo markers for the opposite of their opacity. They're actually quite sheer, but that makes them very, very good for layering and blending. So if you're somebody like me who does like a lot of like blendy, like more painterly art rather than stuff that's like more graphic, if that makes sense, like more flat color, not flat colors because you can still have shading and stuff, but like more sharp edge kind of stuff like that. If you're looking for like a softer edge or like a literal like painterly feel to your paint markers, the Art Echo ones are great, but again, they're very sheer, so sometimes I like to use Shuttle Art in tandem with them. The reason that I like the Shuttle Art markers is because they're so juicy. They're a little bit on the pricey side, okay? They're a little expensive, but they are so worth it. They are so worth it. They are amazing quality. They're very sturdy nibs, and again, the ink quality is just incredible. When Poscas first came on the market and were like the only paint marker to paint marker, I ran to them. I was so excited, and then I tried them, and I was like, okay, they're okay. I gaslit myself, and I told them that I told myself that I love these because again, they were paint markers. You know, they were kind of not gimmicky, but like they were the only ones around. So it was like a new thing, and that was fun and exciting. But something that really irritated me about them was the constant shaking, the constant pumping, and the constant lack of pigment in some of these markers. They would be so watery, and also I so spoiler, I use mixed media paper, okay? And it ate those nibs up. I was constantly rubbing chunks off my paper. This sounds disgusting, okay? Because it was nasty. I was constantly having to pick up like little flakes of the nib off of my pieces, and I didn't particularly enjoy that, but I used the crap out of them because I really loved them. So the fact that brands like Shuttle Art and Art Echo are on the sphere now, I'm really happy about that. I have tried the gravy acrylic markers. They're okay. Some of them are really nice, actually. I don't pick them up as often, and I don't know why. I will probably do in the future like a big, like overarching, like paint marker showdown kind of thing where like I try to decide really what my favorite are. But these are the two brands that I pick up the most. I'm also currently testing some Artex markers. I like them. I think. I'm still on the fence about them. I have not used them very much. I'm trying them out consistently so that I can make some content for them over on my Facebook page for some reason. That's where they found me, which is like my smallest platform. And 90% of my posts are just reposts from my Instagram. But they wanted that stuff there, so I'm trying those markers out. I'm kind of enjoying them. I like their color range. They have a lot more midtones, which again is just something that I feel like a lot of brands seem to struggle with, like when it comes to markers, when it comes to like I guess paint markers as well. Midtones just don't exist, or they do, and they're muddy and weird. So I'm glad that Artex has a considerable amount of those. I will let you guys know in the future how I feel about those and see if maybe one of these paint markers will get dethroned as my favorite. So now that we've spent a little bit of time talking about paint markers, let's talk about actual paint and how I actually hate it. I really don't like paint. I don't like acrylics, I don't like watercolor, and I don't like oil. I don't like acrylic paint because it dries too quickly, so I have a really hard time learning how to blend, and mixing colors is a nightmare because it literally dries on my palette before I even get the chance to use it. So all of my pieces end up super thick and super muddy because it's too hard. It's too hard for me to blend. All of my layers look insane, so it's not fun for me to use, and therefore you won't see me picking it up very often. I really don't like it. So then you might think, okay, well then clearly you're gonna like oil paint, right? Because of the extended dry time. And you would be half right, because it is a lot easier for me to mix colors with oil paint. It's a lot easier for me to blend, because I really like that painterly look both in my digital and my traditional work, right? So you would think, okay, obviously you want painterly work. You're gonna use paint, you're gonna blend with paint, and it's gonna look good, right? You're gonna like it? No. I still end up with really thick, sometimes even sticky pieces, because I'm very bad at mixing like whatever the oil that you mix your oils with, like your, I don't know if it's like binder or what the word is for it. The solvent. Oh my god, do you guys have no idea how many times I filmed this segment and couldn't remember that word. It's probably like 20. The solvent that you blend your oil paints with. I dislike it very much. I never got the ratios right, so my pieces were always, again, very thick, very sticky. Another thing that I don't like about oils is that they're freaking toxic. The paints themselves and the solvents that you use, turpentine, very toxic. I think what I like to use nowadays is like linseed oil, which is less toxic, but still toxic. It's still not great. And also, again, another not so fun fact about oils is that if you touch them too often, you could become allergic to them. And I am a very messy traditional artist. Even using stuff like color pencils on my hands, there will be pigment if I'm using color pencil. Any kind of medium, any medium gets all over me. And again, if oil paint is toxic, it's gonna be all over me. And that's not good. So I don't like it. So that just leaves us with watercolor, right? So what do I not like about watercolor? I'm impatient. And similar to oil and getting ratios right, I always get my water ratio wrong, which means I'm always sitting and waiting for layers to dry, and therefore I'm eating up that paper. It's balding. That paper does not look good. It's buckling. It's ugly. Okay? I never got the ratios right on that. So it was really, really hard. So then you might be asking, okay, Eddie, if you don't like any kind of paint, why is there a paint category? Well, let me tell you. Let me put you guys on something. Gouache exists. You might already be on this, okay? Particularly the Himi Jelly Gouache. Okay, we've all heard of it. Maybe you've been scared to purchase it. Maybe you've been scared to pick it up, okay? Grab it. I'm so serious. I love Himi Jelly Gouache. I am obsessed with it. I love it for all of the same reasons that I hate all other paint mediums, which might not make any sense, so let me elaborate. Oh, acrylic dries too fast, you say. So does gouache, right? Which sounds like it would be a bad thing, except that it dries fast on your canvas, but not in your palette, which means that I'm able to mix colors ahead of time and use them however I want. But, eventually it does dry. But guess what? Gouache is water soluble. So all I have to do is put more water in my palette and boom, fresh new gorgeous paint. It's not watered down. It doesn't change the pigment or the color or anything like that. It's perfect, right? So then, drying fast on the canvas. Well, how does it blend? Well, again, same reason. It's water soluble. So you just pick up a little bit of water and you can push that paint around. It dries fast on your canvas. Oh, I put too much water like I did with watercolor. Oh, it dries so quickly I can just put another layer on top and bump that opacity. It's perfect. It's perfect. I don't know what it is. I have struggled with it for such a, or not, I haven't struggled with, I've struggled with painting for such a long time. Gouache, immediately intuitive. The first time I really genuinely used it, because I did do a video a very long time ago where I used it for the first time on this channel, but I was a scaredy cat, so I didn't really do too much with it. I worked on a very tiny canvas on a very, very tiny very tiny canvas, very tiny character. So I couldn't really get a grasp of it as a medium. But once I sat down and was like, okay, I'm gonna paint something. I chose a little ladybug. It was very simple. Immediately finished that piece within a few hours of that same day. I was obsessed with it. I still to this day take pictures of it, or I find it online. I'll post it in this video if I can find a picture that's not terrible quality, because I think I mostly took videos of it actually, because I was very obsessed and I wanted to show it from all the little angles or whatever. But I love that piece, and it was so easy. I never struggled throughout that entire piece. I've done up to I think 10-ish or so gouache pieces, and to this day there was only one that I didn't enjoy, and that is because I did it on canvas and not on wood, which is what I primarily use. But we're not talking about that right now. But things that I will talk about that I like to use in tandem with gouache, similarly to my accessories category that we did for digital art, I'm gonna do for gouache. So brushes that I like to use with, again, Himi Jelly Gouache. I actually got these in a collab set Sibylline Mene did with some brand that I can't remember. I think it was Mossery, actually. She did a sketchbook, and it came with a couple of different Holbein acrylic gouaches and 3 Princeton Velvet Touch brushes, and those brushes are gorgeous. The bristles are so soft. The actual barrel of the brush is soft, hence the Velvet Touch name. So they're really satisfying to use, but also they're just, they are perfect for gouache. They pick up water really nicely, but also if you use them with less water and just thick straight up paint, they still pick that pigment up very, very nicely. Everything blends so smooth. The bristles, I'm so protective of these brushes. Nobody else is allowed to use them. If I come over and I have my friends make art with me, nobody gets to use my Velvet Touches. You can use all of my dollar store brushes, fine. Nobody touched my expensive brushes. These are my babies. Okay, I'm obsessed with them. I really would like to get more, but they're expensive. I think they're $8 or something a piece, maybe more depending on the brush. But these came in a pack, so it was a steal. But when it comes to purchasing them individually, I'm too scared. I have a round 0, a round 2, and a filbert 8, and they are the perfect size. They're kind of smaller, but not too small that they're detail brushes. But if I want to get into detail, guess what? Detail brushes exist, and for that I like to use this set of Artify detail brushes that I got on the TikTok shop. They're amazing. They came with a sticker or a flyer about a pet grooming stuff for some reason, they are Artify brushes. I'm pretty sure. But for some reason, I think they're shipped from a supplier that also ships, like, pet stuff. I don't understand. But I love these brushes. They're a really nice wood barrel. They have, like, these, like, notches on them to make them nicer to hold. The brush that I particularly love from this set, I think, I don't know what it's called, but it's at, like, an angle. And it's like long, and I really like that for doing particularly when I do my bug paintings, because if you look at the like the wings on a beetle or something, they have like very slight ridges and stuff like that, very small details, very sharp lines. So for stuff like that, I love to use that brush because it has, again, that really flat sharp angle. But then if I want to turn and like have like a flatter, like, you know, broader area, like if I don't want to switch my brush every couple of seconds, I can still paint a larger area with that brush as well. So I really do like that one. I have yet to use most of the brushes in that set. I've used some of the ones that are really teeny tiny for like highlighting and stuff, which I also really like. The brushes are a little stiffer than the Velvet Touch, but they are still soft. They're not as stiff as I would say like a dollar store brush. So if you like, again, the soft bristle, but you don't want to like shell out for like a really expensive like Princeton brush, I would highly recommend these. Again, they are detail brushes. I don't know if they make like more standard brushes that are like similar in brush or bristle quality, I guess you should say. But I really like these. As far as palettes go, I prefer cold stuff. Particularly like porcelain or glass. I prefer to use palettes for stuff like that. I don't really like plastic palettes as much. They kind of tend to dry a little bit quicker, which is, again, okay with gouache because you can add water, but you do have to do that more often when using plastic, at least in my particular experience. I have yet to use them with a Stay Wet palette, which I am kind of curious about. I fear I really want to, because sometimes it is annoying, especially if I'm like working on a bigger piece and therefore have to like spend more time on it and my paints are drying and stuff and I have to keep adding water and blah blah blah. Again, minor inconvenience with gouache, but you know, it still has to be done sometimes. So if there ever were a time that it just would never happen, like with a Stay Wet palette, I don't know if they would stay wet on a Stay Wet palette, but maybe they would. Maybe they would, and I'm curious about that, so that's to be determined. But yeah, I really love those brushes, and brain work please. Glass stuff, cold stuff for palette, for paint. Yeah, so that is our paint category. That was so far the longest category for something that it's the least used medium among all the things that I pick up, which is interesting. I apparently have very strong feelings about gouache. Anyways, our next category is also our shortest, and it is also our last category, and that is the quote-unquote canvas category. And I say quote-unquote because there is nary a canvas to be found here, okay? I don't like using canvas. Maybe if I, you know, took the time to sit down and properly gesso a canvas and use it with my gouache, I would enjoy it, but I don't. I tend to pick it up when it's bald, and I've tried once or twice now, and just the consistency of the paint and how it works on canvas versus how it works on wood is drastically different. I cannot explain it to you in professional artsy terms. I don't get it. My only assumption that I have is I think because wood is a porous material, it kind of like sinks in a little bit more, sucks up some of the pigment and some of the water and stuff like that. So that makes it, again, it speeds up the dry time, but also I don't get the feeling of like, okay, my paint's just sitting on top of the canvas. It's being like soaked into it, which maybe makes for a more enjoyable experience when working with them. I particularly enjoy and I'm so scared because they're from Joann's, and we all know what's happening with Miss Joanne right now. The Park Lane wood canvases are amazing. They come in a bunch of different sizes, and they're very cheap, and they come in like fun little shapes sometimes too. I'm obsessed with them. I love them. And Joann's is going away. So if you guys know somewhere else to get Park Lane canvases, please let me know. They are my favorite, and they are so affordable. So freaking affordable. Some of them are less than $1 sometimes. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I also like wood canvases from They Who Shall Not Be Named, because Target is evil right now and I'm so upset about it. Target often will have like holiday related drops like during Halloween. The brand, I think it's Mondolama actually, so maybe you can order them online like individually, like from them directly rather than from Target. But they, more often than not, it'll be like, oh, it's a holiday, here's a pumpkin canvas, here's a Christmas tree, here's for Valentine's Day they dropped little freaking hearts and it was so cute. So I bought those before Target was evil. But Target's evil now. So if you can order from Mondo Llama directly, I don't know if they're like a Target exclusive brand, I will let you guys know on the somewhere, and maybe Editing Eddie will remember to do something and I will put it on screen and let you know if you can order from them specifically rather than through Target. But I really like those canvases too, because they're the same like texture as the Park Lane one. It's like, I would say it's maybe basswood. Or basswood, I don't know which is the particular one. It's a soft wood. You could pierce it if you jam your thumb into it, but it's hard enough that like you're not gonna like scuff it when you're painting, like if you bump it or something like that. So they're not like super fragile, but they are like kind of soft. I like it. I like them. They're very lightweight as well. It seems I've forgotten yet another crucial art supply for this video, and that is canvas. I like to use for non-wet media, aka stuff you would put on paper because it's paper. So stuff like acrylic markers, alcohol markers, stuff like that, colored pencil even. I like to use, shocker, mixed media paper. I am a little particular about the type of mixed media paper that I use, not necessarily the brand, but actually the texture. It's something that I have to feel out physically. I don't like really smooth papers, but I also don't like papers that have a lot of tooth, because I don't want to go too smooth. Like Bristol board is not mixed media, but it is something that I see commonly recommended for alcohol markers, which I don't understand why, because it is so smooth that ink just sits on top, and that makes it sticky and streaky. I don't understand how it is the standard recommendation for alcohol markers. I really don't get that. I don't like it particularly. I think it's very bad. I also don't like papers with too much tooth though. While it's nice for wet mediums like watered down gouache or watercolor or things like that, acrylic even, again, not something that I use, but if I were to use it, I mean, maybe it would be fine for like those mediums, but because I tend to work mixed media when I'm working traditionally, unless I'm painting, it kind of like, if I use it with like alcohol markers, which are again like the main base that I usually use, it sucks that ink up crazy style and it will dry out your marker so quickly. And even with like Ohuhu, for example, being as affordable as they are, it's still not great to have to keep repurchasing certain markers over and over again if you use them frequently because your paper is too toothy and it is slurping all of your ink. Go for something somewhere in the middle. Right now, my two favorite papers are, well, I say two favorite. I'm not sure about this one anymore. The Canson XL mixed media paper used to be my ride or die. I was obsessed with that sketchbook, and then they betrayed me by no longer being available in Walmart and tripling their price and changing their paper. Why did you do that? Not only did they change their paper, but they changed it to be, I'm pretty sure, worse quality? It's thinner. It's different paper. So I think they're cheaper to be produced now, but triple the price, which makes me so very angry. But I currently have two of them that I have not touched yet because I'm too scared, because again, it used to be my favorite, but the paper feels different, so I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about using them, but that used to be my favorite. If you find an older one, it would be lighter blue with all black text on the front. There's no white or anything like that. I'm pretty sure it was just all black, and that was my baby girl, and they changed her. So freaked out. So what I'm using at current actually is the Ohuhu marker pad, which is a little bit smoother than I would have typically worked in the past, but I don't notice the same streakiness that I would get with other smoother papers. I don't know what Ohuhu puts in their sketchbook paper, but it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. I really like it with acrylic markers as well. I haven't gotten to experiment so much with those in the Ohuhu marker pad yet, but they do look like they're very gentle on the nibs, so I want to experiment with that some more. I definitely want to try that out. I also have like a random sketchbook that, again, I cannot recommend because it is from Target, but it was literally like $5. So my recommendation, rather than focusing on like what brand is Eddie using, I would instead go, okay, I'm gonna touch this and see what the texture is like, and if it's not too coarse and not too smooth, I'm gonna try it. unless it's a hoo-hoo marker paper, which is, again, on the smoother side. I would recommend trying it still. So yeah, that is it for our canvas category. But that about wraps up our video, all of my favorite both digital and traditional art supplies. If you have some favorites of your own, drop them down in the comments below. I'm so serious. We are all looking for that art supply that's going to make everything fall into place, kind of like how gouache was for me with painting, apparently. So if you have like a mystical art supply that like unlocked an art level for you, drop that down below so all of us can experience that as well. If you pick up any of these pieces, let me know how you feel about them in, you know, like a future video or like on my Instagram or something. Like if I've inspired you to pick up a medium or try a brush out or something and you enjoy it, let me know how you feel about it. Also, let me know how you feel about the videos on this channel, what you guys want to see here in the future. I have a lot of video ideas, but sometimes I get to it in a week and I'm like, nope, I'm not doing that one. So if you guys have anything you guys want to see from me, please leave that down in the comments below as well. Huge shout out to my patrons for making videos like these possible, for me to be able to even purchase art supplies to use them in the first place. You guys are amazing. I love you guys so much. If you're here this deep into the video and you're not subscribed, can you be subscribed, please? If you are subscribed, I love you too. If you can't afford to join the Patreon, but you sit here and you watch all my videos to the end and you support me that way, that is just as amazing. I appreciate you so very much. You have no idea. It is hard being an artist out here on social media. It is terrible sometimes. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's awesome because I get to talk to a lot of really cool people who are also artists and creatives and stuff. But then sometimes the horrors. Anyways. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I love you guys so much, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.